Hello, this is Quang Huynh, Premium Finance Broker of CWF Group and also the author of Keep Calm and Mortgage On, which is on Amazon.com. So this week, we're gonna get onto a topic that is quite complex, and also a disclaimer, I'm not giving advice, but I've been asked by a lot of my clients, and it's self-managed super fund lending. How do I use my super to go and buy property? Again, disclaimer, I'm not a financial planner or nor accountant. I'm not giving you advice. It's just basically talking about this lending environment that's linked to self-managed super funds. And a lot of clients have been asking me about 3 or 4 times in this month, because they do have a sizable super and some of them have maxed out their borrowing capacity. So they want to use super to generate another property and accumulate another property. So here it goes. Self-managed super fund lending. Okay, let's break it down to a few things, right? Now, first of all, we all know that we all have super. That's the sort of money that doesn't go into your pay. It's at 9.5%, contribution if you work for a private company. Government companies might pay you 12%, but say basically 9.5% goes towards your superannuation. So superannuation could be, RES, industry super fund, the commercial that you see. I'm with that in the industry super fund. Quite cheesy, but hey, that's the superannuation that they're talking about. Now, obviously, if you've been working for the last 10, 15 years, if you're around my age or slightly more senior, you'll have accrued some money. So say, for example, you've accrued around $100,000 in super. Some of you might have a bit less because you might have started work later in life, but doesn't matter. With this structure, let me first explain self-managed super fund. It's a fund that can have up to 4 members, which means your mates, your family, your spouse, your brothers and sisters can all join up together to pool money into a retail fund, or not a retail fund, a more of a DIY fund, sort of like your super fund you're using at the moment, but you're creating your own fund. So it could be Quang super fund, right? So what happens, you create a fund, and in this Quang super fund that I created, I pop my money that I've got in my retail fund into here, right? And this is recognized as my own super fund now. I'm self-managing, so therefore it's called self-managing super fund. And obviously, I've got a wife, she'll put her super in here, and say, for example, we've got about $200,000 in here right now, okay? And then with these $200,000, I can use it as a deposit towards a purchase, okay? Now, this is also relevant to those who are in first home buyer mode. For example, the government is allowing you to use some of your super towards your first purchase. But that's totally different to buying under super. That's more of a contribution towards your first home that you can live in. Now that falls on to the second category I want to talk about. When you buy property under self-managed super fund, it has to be arm's length, which means you can't live in it, all right? Can't live in it. It's illegal if they do catch you living in it. Most of the people who do investments, they can't live in it. It's arm's length. You have to invest it out. And the money in this self-managed super fund, if we're following, because I don't really want to harp on too much. This is more of a basic, nutshell of what is self-managed. So say this super fund, right? You go buy a property. The rent from here has to go back to your super fund, right? Has to go back to your super fund, okay? It can't go to, your wallet, okay? That's not gonna happen. Has to go back to your super fund, all right? And you cannot access this money until, whatever retirement age you choose, between 65, 70, depends on when you were born. Obviously, seek a financial planner, but roughly around this time, you can then, when it's basically a time when you can draw your super out. That's a time that you can draw this money from over here. Say for example, you sold this property. When you bought it with self-managed super fund, you sold it. You got about say $400,000. That has to go back to your super, not to your wallet, to your super. Understand that. Okay. Now, that's just a nutshell. Okay. More information about self-managed super fund should be asked to your accountant or financial planner. For me, it's more about the lending side. Okay. So, say the bank is over here, right? How do you get your, say you created your self-managed super fund, you created it, you got maybe your brother or your sister, or maybe your wife or your husband join together, or it might be, just be yourself. You're putting money here, you want to go buy a property, right? Now, just to let you know, roughly we have $150,000, right? You guys can go buy off the plan around, just to be conservative, I'm just going to be really conservative here, around $375,000. All right. Now, again, I'm being conservative. I might be underquoting, but it's around this area. Okay, 375 could get you off the plan. If you want to get a house, you might be able to get something a little higher, because some banks will lend up to 80%, and this is at 70% lending with a bit of a buffer. Okay, but more about that later. So obviously, you're not going to be able to live in the property. So a property price around this would be interstate that has high yield. That's your own due diligence. For say you decided to buy a property around this, and this is maybe you and your wife, or maybe you yourself, you didn't been great in your last job, you got a lot of super in the past few years. How does the bank give you the money? The bank requires 4 things from you, okay? 4 documents, okay? You need a super fund, which is self-managed super fund trust, right? Then it has to be, for the bank to lend you maximum money, you have to open a corporate trustee, which basically is like a company that ends with Pty Ltd, okay? And then there's another set of trusts called the Bear Trust, which outlines the rules and guidelines of this property. All right, and under the Bear Trust, there's another corporate trustee. Obviously, I'm not an accountant. I'm telling you what they need. For more nitty-gritty answers about what is a Bear Trust and corporate trustee, ask your accountant or ask your financial planner. But I just know the bank needs 4 things. You have these 4 things, plus you've got money in your super, then you're ready to rock and roll for a pre-approval to buy a property under super. Now, a lot of you would be asking, hey, what's the point of buying property under super? Okay, obviously I'm not a financial planner, but in general facts, the rent will be taxed at 15% rather versus your current personal tax rate. Okay, your personal tax rate is around 35%, you're saving 20%, right? Now, also, once you sell this house that you bought under super and you're in, say retirement age, the property that is sold while in the self-managed super fund is got 0% capital gains tax. Okay? Now, when you buy a property, an investment property in your personal name as an investment property, and then you sell it, usually you will get charged 50% tax on the profit. So, for example, if your profit is $200,000, $100,000 will be taxed. But if you buy under self-managed super fund over here, it is 0% when you reach retirement age. So then that's why a lot of investors, the perks of buying under super is that it's taxed at 15%, it's got 0 capital gains tax, and most importantly, some of our clients have maxed out on their borrowing capacity, on their personal borrowing personally, they cannot borrow anymore. That's why they look at self-managed super fund to service the new debt. Because in the bank size, you're no longer the person borrowing. Your self-managed super fund, which is an entity formed from this complex structure, owns the property. And it's also called limited recourse borrowing, which means when you buy property from a self-managed super fund, if you were to be bankrupt, the bank or other entities cannot get the property in this super fund, because this super fund is now an entity protected by all these, trust and corporate trustees. Obviously, there's more to it than I'm saying at the moment, because I am obviously, again, disclaimer, not a financial planner or an accountant, but a lot of my clients have been buying property through self-managed super fund, for example, off the plans. Okay, it could be second-hand units, houses, okay, I'm talking about established, okay, and display homes. Now, when you reach towards display homes and commercial, just a disclaimer, this takes a long time for the bank to approve, but it's possible. And I've been doing it for a few clients this month. So again, to summarize, this is a nutshell of what is self-managed super fund lending. You can actually tap into your super to buy property. If you don't know what your super is doing and you don't believe the returns are great there, you can decide to utilize those money into buying property. Again, as a disclaimer, speak to your financial planner or accountant for more information. And if you do happen to buy one, start small. Don't go too big. Start small. Find out the mechanics of what it works and how it works. You can always get a second one. And in the meantime, keep calm and mortgage on.